Welcome to Shardcast, the Brandon Sanderson podcast. We're a bunch of mega fans giving you the news discussion and, of course, a whole lot of opinions about Brandon's works and the Cosmere. I'm Eric, and joining me is Ian.
Hey, I'm Weiry.
Also joining us is David.
Hey, I'm Windrunner.
And we also have Rosemary.
Hi, I'm Kaymyth.
And lastly, we got Matt. What's up?
Hey, Comatose on the forums, and the survivor is watching over me today.
Oh, perfect. Which is
blessed.
And I'm Chaos, and that fits very well because we're recording this from the distant past, but we're recording Lost Metal predictions. You're going to see this in 2022, but we're not recording this in 2022. So we finally are going to get the Lost Metal. It finally is. It was very lost for a very long time, and we're finally going to get it. And I'm pretty excited. We're gonna have Era 2 spoilers. There is gonna be a bit of Rhythm of War spoilers as well, because that's kind of relevant. There's multiple things that are relevant. So that's where we are. So why don't we just get started? What is your biggest hope for Lost Metal? I guess this will both be hopes and predictions. So, What do you think?
I want to know what Trell is.
Well, the good news is that Brandon did say in an interview that we will learn things about Trell. And so that's good, because if we didn't, I'd be kind of pissed.
Yeah, central mystery there.
Yeah, that is really central mystery of Era 2 thus far, I think.
I would like more Southern Scadrial stuff. I accept that we are probably not going to go there, or there probably won't be any at all, or maybe just like one or two cool little scenes in Southern Scadrial, because that's a big thing to get into in what is supposed to be a wrapping up volume and not expanding the world too much volume. But I would like to know more about the Southern Scadrians. I would like to know more about why Harmony decided that they could freeze to death, or maybe he's like, Kelsier will get there. I can see with my future sight that Kelsier will get there, so all's going to be fine.
After a whole bunch of people die.
Yeah, after a large portion of their population froze to death. And I would like to know more about their cultures and just maybe some deniers of masks stuff. You never know.
And we talked about that on another episode that Matt and Rosemary did not listen to because it's not out yet. But hey, yeah, I would really like to see Southern Scadrian stuff. One of our things in our list is about Southern Scadrians, and so we'll talk about that some as well. Rosemary, what do you think?
I got a couple of things that I'm really hoping to see that other folks haven't yet touched on. Is one, it's time for cheap aluminum. If you go back into the development of aluminum on Earth, it was super expensive here too, back before electrolysis was developed as a technology. Scadrial has electricity. They have a lot of research dumped into metallurgy. It's not just time, it's past time. It really should have already happened by now. And to kind of give you an idea of how inevitable this is, our modern day process for refining aluminum was like in the 1800s developed, and it's called Hall Haro because it's named after the two different people in totally different places who developed it at almost exactly the same time.
One of those.
That is how inevitable it is. So I'm well past the point where I think we need to see that aluminum needs to be cheap. And that is going to be a massive, massive shakeup in the social order of how Scadrial works.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have the resources, like they haven't found enough bauxite to really do it, because they haven't really expanded. Like maybe they've got the technology, but they don't have the raw material.
They've mentioned bauxite reserves in the books.
I know,
really?
that's why I use that term.
Yeah,
but,
and bauxite is really a really common mineral. There's like a ton of different types of it. You could find it just about everywhere.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, but I could also see Brandon pulling the their lives have been so easy in the Elendil Basin. They're just not pushing themselves to explore. But I think they should be exploring aluminum because
that'd be very
there's
valuable.
a lot of incentive
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if someone already has developed the process and is using it on the sneak and keeping it secret so that they can still get high tier prices for the aluminum that they make that's being made much more cheaply.
Yeah.
That seems like a good plotline for the set, potentially.
Yeah.
Or like a good subplot for the set.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a very interesting inciting incident where, because that will cause a lot of chaos. That's going to be a huge development. Matt, what do you think?
I think my hopes, I really want more Marasi and Steris, because I feel like they've just kind of really taken off as characters for me. And so sometimes when authors are finishing off a series, they go like back to the roots. And I'd be very disappointed if this was like just Wax and Wayne focused. I think Brandon has said that it's going to be kind of the core 4 focused, or he's going to like focus on all 4 of them. But I really want to see more Marasi and Steris specifically. I want answers about, like, we still have these missing women from book 1 that we haven't gotten a lot of answers about.
Maybe hemalurgy, ?
Yeah,
That's
maybe hemalurgy, maybe breeding, Mistborn, maybe like... Yeah, there's a lot of unanswered questions there that I think need to be answered. Well, that aren't really set up for the next series, or they might be, but I think need to at least be answered in this book. I don't know, some examples of new like twinborn or new metals would be cool. Not new metals, but metals we haven't seen a lot of, because there's a lot that we haven't seen much of.
I mean, it is called the Lost Metal, and in Shadows of Self there's like a thing where Atium was said to be the Lost Metal, so that is an interesting thing to go about.
And so that's an interesting question. Do we think it is Atium or Atium, or do we think it's going to be a different metal and Brandon's faking us out with that?
Yeah, what is the Lost Metal? What does that title mean? Because he's always wanted to call it this.
Yeah.
I think it's Atium. Like, I think that Et Metal does not make sense as a lost metal because it seems like it's totally new and they never knew about it before and they didn't lose it and then rediscover it. Atium is the lost metal. There's an edge case for Lerasium, or maybe Trellium is the lost metal. Who's to say? But I think Atium makes the most sense.
Yeah, because they did have it until they didn't.
Yeah, and there's a case to be made that Sazed probably has a stash of it somewhere to keep himself balanced.
And also, I'm pretty sure in the first trilogy, I think they say it'll take about 300 years to recover after Kelsier destroys the pits of Hathsin.
But how much is that still true with Harmony's ascension?
Yeah. I mean,
Brandon could justify anything, really.
Yeah.
Harmony has probably moved the shard pools somewhere safe.
Well, maybe it's even one perpendicularity now. We really don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But
you can probably control whether it's 1 or 2.
Maybe.
I don't think that I used to really like the 300 years thing, but since we've now seen the pits, that kind of, I was like, oh, they're not regrowing. The crystals clearly haven't regrown in the pits. So they could have started somewhere else 300 years ago and grown up from nothing, I suppose. But
well, again, the pits were around Ruin's shard pool. So if Harmony moved the shard pool or combined them both in the one and put them somewhere else, then the pits are no longer getting
anything
Ruin radiation.
Yeah, and it's like the pits producing Atium wasn't even a natural occurrence. Preservation set up that mechanism.
Yeah.
Now that Sazed is in control of both shards, he can just cancel whatever preservation did to make Ruin do that.
You know what I'd like to learn? What did Harmony do to snapping? I don't know when we'll see it, but there is a lot of mysteries. That's not a central thing I want.
Mm-hmm. That feels like Era 3. They're like, all right, we're doing the analysis. We know we've got documentation that snapping used to be harder, and now it's not. What happened?
Ooh, yeah, that would fit really well. So going off of the name, The Lost Metal, I'm curious what you all think sort of the genre or style of the book will be, because I feel like each of the 3 Era 2 books have been very different. Like they have a specific, genre that they're drawing from. Like Alloy was kind of a fusion of Western and thriller, but like Shadows was really pulpy. Thriller. Yeah.
All of them are genres of pulp in their own way. It's just like Alloy's the Western, Shadows is the more like true thriller. And Bands is the adventure story,
the Indiana Jones adventure story.
I like the popular theory that it's going to wind up being a war story.
I like that idea.
Who's at war with whom? Is it an interbasin war? Are they having problems with the Southern Scadrians? Are there maybe factions of the South and North that are aligned with other factions of both sides? There's so many different ways this could go politically. It's like, oh, this is going to be juicy.
I love the war story idea. I mean, if you read Bands, the war is... There's definitely stuff going on, and I feel like that does kind of need to be dealt with. How much time we have for a war story, I don't know, because, I mean, surely our main characters aren't, like, going to be on the front lines of that war, right? Like, they're going to be off doing another thing, and that's just going to kind of be the setting, almost? Yeah, so...
I guess I am one of those who feels like it could be too much for the book. Like there's just like a lot of things to be juggling in this. It seems like, and I feel like I would like the war to get. I mean, but like we already have a novel where the entire series has been a war. So maybe Brandon's not interested in making the war a front end piece. But it just seems to me like they could jump in and it could be late. Like I just don't think you can cover the whole entirety of a war in a book of the scale that we are getting. But it would be cool. Alternative idea that I'll just throw out there. Cowboys versus alien style. We've got these alien invaders. They're like, oh my gosh, people from above. What is going on? Not like a full blown War of the Worlds style thing. But
would those aliens be Southern Scadrians in this context?
Oh, no, I'm talking about, I think those faceless immortal guys are aliens.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's true. Rereading that end thing, it's like we're going to eliminate life on this sphere. Like, okay, they sound nice.
Very polite. Clearly,
very polite.
This thought just came to me, and because I was just thinking about like pulp genre that was kind of popular at an earlier time, because a lot of that's kind of been the focus as well. Like Bands of Mourning, for example, almost beat for beat, I found, and I think I read them around the same time, but Edgar Allan Poe's The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, which is Poe's only novel.
Oh, I didn't know this even existed. Okay, cool.
But like, it's like the adventure story to like involving a Southern civilization that no one knew about, and like. Like it's very so anyway, so I was thinking that, and I'm like, what other like things were popular kind of in that era? And so I'm wondering, like, it'd be kind of cool if Brandon kind of did a fantasy within a fantasy and slanted it to like old fantasy genre. So something like the Narnia books or the C.S. Lewis's like space series. And what would fit with that in Cosmere would be a cognitive realm adventure for our main character. Like if he pulled off, I'm not sure if he'd do that though, but that would be
cool. Very unexpected. I would think
that very unexpected.
I would not have thought of that. Yeah.
You could really blend that into horror too, because you're in this whole new world. You have no idea what's going to jump out at you from behind the next corner.
Yeah, and like it does fit with reading Secret History after Bands of Mourning. Like that sets up the cognitive realm of Scadrial.
I guess that's true.
Then we flash forward 300 years. Like, how is it the same? How is it different?
That's a really cool idea. I don't know if I like that, because I feel like there's enough Elendel stuff as it is that we have to wrap up, and if we don't. Like, we're just not going to see it until the next era, right? So I don't know if going into like a totally different place is what we need for the setting, right? But it would be, I mean, that does sound really cool though.
and coming back to Elendil would be nice. And there's so much like unresolved, like the class struggle that we've been seeing evolving. And like, you know, to Rosemary's point, like if they do all of a sudden have this revolution with cheap aluminum, are they finally going to like kick off the last vestiges of the final empire and the noble family's power and move to a more egalitarian system? Or is that like, and then the war with the South? Yeah, like it's just, there's lots to do on world. So I get it might not be the angle.
Do you guys think it's going to be in Elendil or somewhere else, the setting?
Yes. I think we're going to be all over the place.
Okay, yeah, I mean...
It did sound like there might be at least, we could not find Brandon's description of it, but a splitting up of plot lines at one point. So I could see a central, more political Elendil plot and then a more adventure-y thing going on somewhere else. But
there's three plot lines. One character by themselves, two characters together, and then Steris, which is the smallest of the three.
Yay, more Steris viewpoints though. That's
which,
still
like,
good.
And so my assumption is Wax by himself, Marasi and Wayne together.
That does make the most sense.
I'm really pulling for that secret Steris novella here.
Yeah, and my guess is that like Steris's arc will be in Elendil, like holding down the fort, basically.
Okay.
That makes
making
sense.
sure like Elendil doesn't fall apart in whatever is happening.
She is indeed the most politically savvy of any of our characters.
True.
And like she is a house lady at this point. Like she is one of the most influential people in the city.
Yeah.
I do get sad when we split up our fun group dynamics though. Like there was a little bit of this in Rhythm of War for me too, where I'm like, but I want them all just hanging out, you know? Like I don't. But and they were so much fun in that hotel and bands, but hopefully they'll get some good time together.
That poor owner lady.
And it's interesting for Steris too, because Ladrian, now that it's full, because the big thing was Ladrian was well established but broke, and Steris was really rich, and so like now Ladrian is in a position to be very influential now that they've been unified. And Brandon has said that Marasi and Wayne are going to have a plotline together, with Wayne as Marasi's deputy because Wax is retired.
Oh, yeah, that was from a while ago.
That's how it'll start, at least.
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. It's been a long time. A lot of lost metal talk.
So what if Steris is off doing all the political stuff and Wax is raising the kids?
He's not good at politics. He could be a better father than a Dwarn and let Steris run the house.
That wouldn't take much.
I think he would be fine being a figurehead.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's totally fine with that.
I think that would be a good dynamic for him, just because it suits them better. I think he would be a really good stay-at-home dad.
He can play like Wild West games with the kids.
Yeah, kids are just another adventure.
Oh,
I don't know. I feel like Wax is such a like non-homebody. Like he like routinely describes like the mansion as a prison. Like he gets so restless and.
But
they're not the kids out on adventures all over the city.
Yeah, they don't have. He's not living in the mansion anymore. He's living in the apartment, the penthouse apartment.
Man. There are so many different directions. Like the problem with these doing these episodes is that we just don't know what the main thrust of the plot is. Like if you read Shadows of Self and there was more than just 3 months in between Shadows and Bands, you would not expect Bands to be like, yeah, so we're gonna go on an adventure for this crazy artifact. I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess that sounds sweet. You wouldn't guess that entire plot structure, but. What is interesting with Lost Metal is it has to do double duty of wrapping up the era, but also setting up the next one. Because it's not like Era 1 where it's like, who knows when we're going to see it again. It's just like, that was a concrete one of those, like, the conflict is done. Sure, characters live on. More stuff will happen. But like, you could read that first trilogy and be like, great, I'm totally satisfied. But in this one, we are setting up Era 3 very soon, because Brandon's going to write that after Stormlight 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of one of the main characters in Era 3 being descended straight from Wax and Steris.
Yeah.
It's like the secret plot behind all the Mistborn books is it's the adventures of Breeze and his descendants.
That's why we had to have those Alrian scenes.
Exactly.
I guess.
I mean, Breeze was a viewpoint character in Well of Ascension.
Yeah. So it's hard to really get a handle on what this book's going to be, how it has so much to do with the setting. It's not going to wrap up everything, but hopefully will be satisfying as well, that it at least wraps up the characters.
Going off of Wax potentially being the lone wolf plotline, it'd be really interesting if Brandon did kind of something mirroring Sazed's arc in Hero of Ages. Like that. Well, like Sazed had that very like internal arc where he was like kind of struggling. And I know him and Wax had a moment at the end of Bands of Mourning where like they're more on better terms than they were at the beginning of Bands of Mourning.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I still think Wax has a lot to work through internally. And even with the time skip, it might be just interesting to kind of have that parallel, especially if he's being set up as kind of Harmony's champion or
Yeah. Do we want to talk about the sword? I mean that's a great segue of talking about Wax, because in Rhythm of War, right, we get this reference to that Harmony wants a sword, one of something of ruin and preservation, a sword to act. To me, it's very clear that the result of that is Wax, because Era 2 is after the first half of Stormlight.
Yes, and I strongly agree with you.
Yeah.
I do agree with the caveat of, because Wax had the choice of whether to come back at the end of Bands, that Harmony has a backup brewing. Whether that's Marasi or someone else, or he's just like, well, if I lose Wax, then if I just like put all the rest of you together, then you're like a Voltron sword, maybe.
Oh boy. I honestly like the idea that it's Marasi way more, and I think she might be better positioned to do it with her more modern take on justice and whatnot. I will echo my counterpoints to Wax as the sword that I periodically bring up.
Yes.
Wax, at least in Shadows of Self, did not represent both ruin and preservation. He was explicitly, according to Tensoon, who I trust, Harmony's ruin, and with Tensoon being his preservation. I think that Wax could be an attempt at devising such a weapon, or like a prototype potentially. I just don't like, with the amount of time that he has left, it seems like a bigger deal than what Wax has left to do in kind of a side series. And so I think it'd be more interesting to have Marasi, who is well positioned within the Elendel constabulary and all that stuff, doing good for a long time with a long career, maybe even showing up in Era 3 if it's not that far in the future. I know Brandon's jumped around about how many years it could be, but I think it'd be cool if it was Marasi, and I think she has the potential to do more overall societal good, and Wax kind of does more like big hero stuff.
I do want to read a short sentence from Shadows of Self.
I'm aware of.
Yes.
But we need to full disclosure for the audience.
Yes.
I'm not Harmony's hands, Wax whispered. I'm his sword.
AKA red herring.
I mean, it and in fact, I just did a search, but even Miles calls Wax a sword. So it's like, Miles is saying, I don't care about the survivor's mandate. I found something better that doesn't matter to you. You're just a sword, a tool that goes where it's pointed. Which is just interesting. But yeah, certainly Wax saying I'm his sword definitely kind of is an implication. Like, Tensoon doesn't have full information, right?
Well, he has more information than Wax does saying his badass "I'm a sword" line.
Okay, that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
And for your point about like Wax maybe just being a prototype sword, I don't think that is a meaningful difference. Like Harmony is still intending for him to be his sword.
And
I think that is like Harmony is trying to set up Wax to be his sword and champion. How effective Wax will end up being at that, who knows? But like I do think Harmony is planning things for Wax. Who knows how they'll turn out?
We're looking at normal mortal, lifetimes here, assuming that whoever this champion is isn't going to be spending a lot of time in the cognitive realm. They're going to grow old, and it's going to need to be a rotating position.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also like to the Tensoon point, like Tensoon also sees all humans as of ruin, and like saw Vin primarily as of ruin, and then Vin ended up being like preservation, but the ability to fight.
I agree, but it wasn't "you're of ruin," "you're his ruin" is my recollection of the line, at least.
Yeah.
You have to filter it through the character though, because he has very specific opinions on humans, and
that he does.
Vin was more of an exception to him than something that made him change his mind overall.
Nothing about that line says to me that Tensoon is talking about humans as a whole, though. So I guess we'll just agree to disagree there.
No.
He doesn't know Wax well enough to separate him from the rest of humanity.
I see your point, though, David. I see your point.
And I agree with you, David. Like, I would be more satisfied, I think, if there was a twist with who the sword is. But I do think at least the reader is intended to think it's Wax at this point.
I would agree with that.
Whether or not that works out, like Palm Lessie's whole plot with like trying to get Wax not to be Harmony's tool.
Right.
It will be interesting.
To Rosemary's point about this being a rotating position by necessity, like I could see it's like Harmony needs Wax to be like to start that line. Like he's setting up like Wax to be the like archetypal, like, okay, like you are going to inspire like every sword that comes after you sort of situation.
I guess I just don't see it being a formal position. I don't know. I guess my thoughts about this are kind of weird. I don't know. I'm excited to see how Wax, if he continues to reconcile himself with the idea of being a tool, which he seems to really resent.
True.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and like how that connects with his scene with Harmony, right, at the end of Bands.
I mean, since he did get the whole pan out and here's the bigger picture thing, I think he has a much better idea of what's at stake now than he did through most of Bands.
Like, what is... I know it is connected to this who is the sword type thing, but like, what does it mean to be Harmony's sword, right? Like, what does that involve? Because if it is Wax, then that should probably be relevant to the plot here. I don't know.
Shardcast, asking the philosophical question, what really is a sword?
What is a sword?
I'm going to take this in an interesting direction.
Okay, great, cool.
That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been involved I was reading and I participated briefly in a forum thread on 17th Shard. Check out 17th Shard forums.
17shard.com for all your news, discussion theories. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
On whether the discussion started as whether Kelsier could also be the hero of ages, and looking at like
that's a take.
The prophecy. Right. Mm-hmm. And there's some interesting wobs and interesting things about like the hero of ages evolving over time, and there being like Zed maybe being like the final hero of ages. And we know the final hero was the original title of
That's true. That
Hero
is true.
of Ages.
That is true.
So wondering if maybe the sword is Zed kind of pulling a preservation and setting up a new version of the hero of ages, right? Because there's a lot of parallels between what we've been talking about with the sword, like protecting and ruining, and like it kind of feels like the Hero of Ages stuff.
Huh.
And yeah, so I that's kind of where I'm leaning with what maybe Harmony is intending.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. That's a cool idea.
It is a very cool idea.
And the thing about prophecy is weird in the Cosmere, right? But like with preservation, like, you know, like at least my impression of it is it's this like fractured thing. Like you can see multiple possible futures and kind of pick them out. So like it's possible, I think, also for a prophecy to refer to more than one thing. Like,
like
this could be the true Hero of
possibilities.
Ages.
Right.
But it could also mean other things. And on the Kelsier point, the big interesting line we were talking about on the forums is they say his name shall be Discord, but they shall love him for it.
That's
which
it's capital
is the
D
opposite
Discord,
of Harmony.
Yeah.
Yeah, capital D. And Discord is the opposite of Harmony, but it's like a similar combination of ruin and preservation potentially. And so the idea that could refer to someone else other than, say, Zed is interesting to me, whether it's like a Kelsier or it's a Wax or it's someone else, Marasi or whoever.
So I have a few comments on this, Matt. This is an interesting idea. I do think that capital D Discord is going to matter at some point. That has to matter because that's so anti-Harmony in a way, right? That there's something with that, I think, especially with it being capital D. Come on. But I don't think we're going to see Sazed being replaced with these casts or the sword at all. And like that would be very disappointing to me just from a storytelling perspective, right? We're seeing Harmony like learn about his powers and stuff. And I don't know how much we're going to see of Harmony in this book, but I mean, clearly his story will progress in Era 3. And so I don't want to see him be replaced. I want to see him struggle with what he has. Now, the theory that I like is that maybe Sazed himself turns into Discord somehow. I don't know how, but if he starts calling himself Discord instead, that would be very cool. But
it could be interesting to see a Shardic attack on him from someone else that unbalances him and turns him into that.
Yeah. I mean,
that'd be a great way to destroy the planet. If you're trying to remove life from the sphere, is change their god from a god of Harmony into a god of Discord.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a really good point, David. That's a really good point. Yeah, maybe the set, or not the set, but the set's Faceless Immortals. Can I just say I would really like an actual name for those things? I just want to put that out there. Like, I know that's not really relevant to bands, but I tried to get a name out of Brandon, and it's just like Raffo. That's instant Raffo. I'm like, oh damn. But that's a good point, because you kind of have to deal with Harmony if you want to deal with life on that sphere, right? Like, even if you kill everyone there, Harmony could just create again, right? He could.
Yeah.
And you're not going to raw overpower Harmony, you're not going to be able to, I don't think you're going to be able to, like, there are clever ways. Odium has clearly managed to do some pretty crazy stuff with just a single shard, but it'd be tricky especially if Trell is an avatar like we think, for that sort of thing to be able to stand up directly against a shard. So if they're trying to kill everybody, they're going to have to be clever about it and not brute force it.
Yeah.
And
Harmony was Odium's worst nightmare for a reason. Like, 2 shards of Aiden Alzium united.
Yeah, but in his big weaknesses, he still knows so little about.
Yeah, exactly.
His learning curve is so much far behind all the other shards right now that they have the sneaky edge. So they're going to do something that he's not expecting and that he can't necessarily directly counter.
And also this opposed forces thing, right? Like, then the whole point of the sword supposedly is to have a more active agent, because Harmony feels so restricted in his ability to act directly.
It may eventually be to the point where he decides that he's too restricted, and in order to protect his planet, he has to pick up that extra chunk of ruin and tip the balance And that might be what turns him to Discord. I mean, there's so many different ways we could do this.
Luckily, I don't think we have to worry too much about Harmony for this book, because we know he's still relatively the same. Oh, wait. No, never mind.
Era 2 is the furthest thing in the
takes place
timeline.
after Rhythm of War, not
exactly.
before. Yeah.
I wonder.
Oh, no.
The other thought I had, since we know he's so good at like spinning religions and making things about himself, if Kelsier as a new like survivorism doctrine sets himself up as like the next hero of ages, and not necessarily hero ages in that he's trying to replace CZ, but you know, more as like a champion of the planet, and you should follow me and revere me, and my name will be Discord, but you will love me for it because the people love Kelsier. Like it's he could, even if it's not intended, he could spin it to be about him, because Kelsier's very good at spinning things to be about him.
As everyone can see, our problem isn't theories. Our problem is having too many.
Yes, I am filled with such existential dread about the idea that Trell is going to somehow attack Harmony. Because that's not even unusual, because that's kind of what Palm was trying to do, right? To, like, dethrone Harmony somehow and, like, get the people against Harmony, right? So, like, that's not even an unreasonable thing that, like, they've already tried to do that, kind of. And so I'm just imagining... like, maybe Harmony doesn't turn into Discord this book, but what if, like, let's say, a wound in the spiritual realm, or, like, some wound to Harmony, like, something with the Atium, like, unbalancing him somehow, and, like, the book ends on, like, this foreboding thing where, like, Harmony's not quite right anymore.
Ooh,
and it's going to be and Era 3 may be us having to watch helplessly as he slowly descends.
I could definitely see this being the book where they tip the balance on him a little bit. And I almost wonder too, and I think this isn't an original idea at all, but if part of his inaction is if he does something with preservation, he feels compelled to do something with ruin. And if they can force Harmony to exert some of his power too much to one side, he's going to end up kind of like a spiral situation where he has to ruin something. Now he has to preserve something.
Ooh.
Not as direct as that, but it could just kind of continually get more and more out of hand as time goes on.
That's kind of more how I see Discord as well. Like less like it's more ruiny and more they're still balanced, but they're never like in a state of equilibrium like they are now. So it's like they're still equal forces, but they're just going up and down. And so they're never like level at the same time.
I have another crazy idea with that. What if like Harmony gets unbalanced and he leaves Scadrial for a while because he's worried he's gonna destroy the place? So really, like if he is pressed to act, maybe he would just leave for a while. I maybe that'd be difficult because he is so invested in the planets. Yeah, but And
I don't know that he can physically leave Scadrial at this point.
There's an old wob. There's an old wob about that he could will himself somewhere else if he so chose.
Yeah, I mean, he can be somewhere else, but there's still so much of him that exists there that he's not really gone.
Yeah, like he would lose access to a significant portion of his power. But
what does it mean for Shard to be in a different place?
What does He's got mean? Power on Rashar as well. You know, we know that their power has been discreetly split a ton of different places. So not as strongly as Scadrial for sure. But if he thinks he's a danger, I don't think he's going to leave Scadrial. But if he thinks he's a danger to people,
that's an interesting. This is an interesting whole side of things that I didn't consider. Yeah, I don't even know if it's going to happen, but
I think say Zed would be fine with leaving Scadrial. Like he'd be okay. Like not mentally, but like I think he'd survive. It'd be interesting to see what Ruin and Preservation leaving Scadrial would do to the planet, though, because like the planet is so used to having that there and was created by them. So if that would have like an impact.
Yeah, because the mists would go away, right? If he did.
It depends on how he leaves. Like,
True.
if he leaves and takes his power with him, Scadrial is screwed because it's made from that power. If he leaves and leaves the power invested in the planet behind, Scadrial, I think, would be fine. Harmony would be significantly weakened.
I think he can just grab the mists and go, like, without, like, taking all that part of preservation in all the humans.
I guess.
Yeah, well, it's a sliding scale.
Sure,
like,
sure,
it's
sure.
like, how much of the power does he take with him?
I don't know if I agree that he would leaving Scadrial, the planet behind, would substantially weaken his available power, because I don't think he can use, assuming he directly created the mass of Scadrial himself, which I feel like there was also one where Brendan was like, oh, they just kind of gathered the dust up and made it into a planet. Could be wrong about that. But assuming that he did actually create the matter, that's not available power for him to use. That's power that's existing as matter. And so if he leaves that behind, it's not like he was throwing that around on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I could see him being able to split off a portion of himself and being like, this is the mist, this stays behind. I don't know what it does to allomancy for Ukami. Hemalurgy is probably fine because hemalurgy exists everywhere for some reason.
I don't think if this is such a mechanical tangent that doesn't really matter. But I just want to say, I don't think it matters where Harmony is for an Allomancer to use their power. That doesn't matter. I think like Hoyd can use Allomancy elsewhere on Rashar. Doesn't matter.
The magic is created via the natural interaction between the shard and the planet.
Well, yeah.
You leave the planet, are you interacting with the planet anymore?
The people who are born there, though, have that spark inborn in them, and they can take it wherever they go.
But would they continue to be born that way? Would it eventually fade away as time goes on?
That's an excellent question. We don't know. But what I was going to say earlier is it just like seems like the increasing certainty that something terrible is going to happen with Harmony to send him spiraling into madness is just like... Brendan is going to break all of our hearts again because he has given us this character that we're all very emotionally invested in, and then he's going to do terrible things to him. And it's really the prophecy is about Brandon. He is Discord, and we're going to love him for it.
Yeah, I mean, it would be awesome if Harmony turned into Discord. I would love that. Just see what that means.
It would be confusing on Discord to talk about it, but
join our Discord server to talk about Discord.
Very, very proud of me for not making any My Little Pony jokes. I should have you know.
Wow. Well, allegedly we were talking about the sword and what that meant in this last tangent, but
I do have a side comment on that. If we were circling back to that, I think we don't know what being a champion means.
No clue.
I think that this is possible. That it's kind of a standard champion type thing. Like I believe that Elend was Vin's champion, whatever that means, in the end of Hero of Ages. Sure. I believe that Harmony was fueling Wax's hemalurgic pewter earring in the final fight in Alloy of Law, just because of how. Oh, I see Eric's skeptical face. That 100% happened.
I'm with you there.
Dragging.
I support the theory.
Yeah. No, I honestly, I just don't remember because honestly, with magical combat, I'm definitely getting to a point in Brandon's stuff where I'm just not picking up on the details anymore. Even like I really have to focus hard. So could you explain, please?
Yes, I would love to. For a refresher for those who haven't read Alloy of Law recently, the weakest of the Era 2 books.
I mean, I think so.
When Wax is fighting Miles in that final scene, he really kind of gets his butt kicked pretty hard. And when he's kind of at his lowest point, you remember we get the only line of Harmony in the book where he's like, I think it's like, I sent you, or he's like, he says, you're welcome, I think, too. And Wax finds all of his guns and his mist coat, and it's a whole big thing. But he also is pretty seriously injured. And it's kind of like crawling around before that. And afterward, he's moving around just fine. He seems good. And a lot of the description of how he is feeling, I find to be consistent with burning pewter. And he's got a hemalurgic spike in his ear.
Yeah, he was getting fueled by the mists there.
Okay. Well, I mean, the mists wouldn't need the hemalurgic spike, of course.
Well, no, but he needs the mists to have the pewter to burn. The spike just gives him the power. He doesn't have the metal in his system, so the mist is substituting itself for the metal.
Sure.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, sure. I'm into that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which undermines me saying that I don't think wax is Harmony's sword, but it's okay to have contradictory ideas sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the thing with the sword is that Harmony is probably constantly moving pieces around just all the time. Like, you're a shard. You have lots of free time to do like that. Like, you just do. So he has presumably tons of plans for everything.
That's true. You could have a couple candidates. I would have Milan as a sword. I think she'd be great. Very effective.
For the stabby. Yeah, it is.
I would honestly...
Even though she's not supposed to kill people.
I love Milan. I want more Milan in this book.
We have to get more Milan, for sure, right?
She's...
I want Milan in every single Mistborn book to the end. I think she needs to be there.
Can you imagine, like, Era 4 Milan is basically like old grandma Milan? Because, like, it would be like hundreds of years later. And because this feels more like early 20s. It's just like, yeah, I'm here having fun. But can you imagine, like, a cranky old grandma Milan? Because that sounds incredible. Just like that, seeing her personality progress through the eras sounds awesome.
She'd be the kind of grandma that's like the cool, edgy grandma.
Yeah. The grandma who dyes her hair like blue or something. Yeah. Yes.
Because the Khandra like have this struggle of they don't know how to reproduce anymore or create new Khandra. So like, I don't know if we'll get something with that.
Are we ever going to get any answers about how Khandra blessings are weird ever?
Oh my God. Well, like the whole thing with Relur's missing spike and how they couldn't use someone else's spike. But you like Tensoon, if he had his 2 base spikes, could add the 2 other spikes.
Oh yeah, that's
as long
true.
As you have the
that we
Yeah, that's a lot of Khandra.
It's like, as long as you have your spikes, you can add as many as you want.
Yeah,
if you're missing like one,
The spikes are linked to their initial cognitive identity when they are first transformed from Mistwraiths into Khandra. And from thereafter, they have to have their spikes or they're kind of going, me? And then there's the question of if a Khandra dies, can you use those spikes to create someone new?
I think you could. I think it'd be like a cool, like kind of like a child thing almost.
Is that person going to have a few weird little memories floating around of the Khandra that came before them?
This episode's just turning into, here are weird things we don't know about Scadrial. What if we talk about them?
Yeah.
So
we want to talk about Relur's pewter spike while we're at it. No.
Well, like that's an interesting though. To continue this tangent,
sure, why not?
It's an interesting thing because there's always also been a discrepancy with the Khandra where is their identity coming from the spikes or from the Mistwraith, because like the first generation have all their memories from before they were turned into Mistwraiths.
Right.
So it's not like the spikes that's giving them their identity. Their identity is who they were before they were a Mistwraith, but I don't know. The first generation was also weird in general.
The spikes, I believe I remember there's a WoB out there that says that the spikes are essentially bridging a cognitive block in the Mistwraiths. And so once that block has been bridged, it is attuned to the specific spikes that connect it, and the other ones don't quite fit right. If that makes sense. That's kind of my thoughts on the matter.
Yeah. There could be some cool knock-on effects from reusing spikes though, because we saw that with the Kolos when they were reusing their spikes to make new Kolos. They were becoming more human. So
true.
When a Kolos dies, you see the 4 people who made the spikes go to the Beyond.
Do you? I thought you just saw the one.
No, I'm pretty sure.
I've gone through Hero of Ages fairly recently. I think it was just the people who had been the Kolos Colossus that Kelsier was seeing.
Because the Kolos is the combination of the
or a bit secret history too, but yeah. So because the spikes don't steal the entire human soul, they just steal a piece of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember when Kelsier started seeing Kolos dying, he would see, instead of a Kolos arising from them, it would be a person. So I don't think we were, if I remember correctly, I do not think we were seeing the spiked people coming up. I think it was just the person who was the Kolos. And they're like, they're so confused as to what just happened. They don't even, can't even really say anything before they disappear.
Matt, I do remember something like that, though. And so I bet on Matt's memory about Mistborn Era 1, to be honest. Like, that does sound vaguely familiar.
I
listened to Secret History like a month ago, but
let's steer on back here, because we're super off in things that are not related to the book. Because I don't think we're gonna get much new Kandra lore in this book. Like, I don't think that's gonna happen. I don't think we're gonna get Kolos lore either. I don't. Maybe we could get some Kolos lore about full Kolos. That
someday we will. Cool. I'm sure, even if it's not in this next book.
How about we talk about Kelsier? How much Kelsier do we think that we're going to see?
Not enough.
Yeah, I don't think Kelsier is going to show up on screen.
Okay.
I think he's going to be more of a Era 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I predict we'll at least see Kelsier on screen in an epilogue.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah,
I think that's a real possibility. It's kind of a cool end of the book sting. Like, oh man, here's a tease for Era 3.
Are we gonna get Ghost Blood stuff?
MCU end credits.
Yeah. Basically, yeah.
I think there's a decent chance we'll get Ghost Bloods, because now that the whole Thydakar secret is out there, Brandon doesn't have to be coy about Kelsier's activities on Scadrial. So I think Kelsier's presence will be felt in the novel. I just don't think he'll show up on screen unless it's in an epilogue or something. And the main way of doing that would be Ghost Bloods.
True. Yeah. That's true.
I guess. It feels like, I don't know, maybe Brandon's ready for that crossover, but like to hear the name Ghost Bloods in Mistborn would be pretty nuts, you know?
Yeah, I don't know if we're gonna like hear the name Ghost Bloods, or if like the characters are just gonna be like, they might not know what that means, and we might not hear that on screen, but like maybe they're some of Kelsier's just acolytes or something, because he had all those frickin' priests.
Some sort of symbol of the interlock triangle.
Sure,
somewhere.
Yeah. It's like, I was gonna mention this. Like, I think we might see like the Ghost Blood symbol.
Sure.
We might not get the Ghost Blood name.
Yeah.
They really don't introduce themselves very often. Like, hi, we're the Ghost Bloods.
Hello. No, that's only when they die.
I want Marsh. That's what I want.
You want Marsh?
I want Marsh.
Yeah.
We have not seen Marsh since book 1. I think Brandon said he was busy. I think if he's been asked about what Marsh has been up to since then in some ancient log.
He's in the southern continent.
There you go.
I think so.
That's busy then. Well, and I hope he comes back from
Southerners. That's a good opening for Marsh to come back and go, hey, so I've been talking to these guys.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's got a place in the Southerner lore at all, you know, since Kelsier has built this whole religion around himself. If he's like, if this is my right-hand man, Marsh, or if he's
he's down there. It's like, damn it, Kelsier, what have you been doing?
I gotta make my own religion. Come on.
Yeah. It's like, to be honest, I don't think there is. Because, like, Kelsier and Marsh are siblings, and Kelsier is a very, very selfish man. Like, I don't think that's debatable. I don't think it would even pop into his head as a consideration to build his big brother, his like overbearing, like judgy big brother into this whole dynamic.
I mean, but like if Marsh just goes with Kelsier there, then they might naturally make the connection and create that lore anyway, right?
Yes. I don't think Marsh went with Kelsier. I think Kelsier
there's plenty of
went on his own.
Sure.
I'm sure the Southerners should take one look at Marsh and freak out because
that's true.
He's kind of scary looking.
Matt?
It is interesting though that like Marsh, this keeps happening to Marsh because like Marsh was like the rebel.
Yeah.
and then Kelsier ends up saving everyone. Marsh is the one who lives and becomes the god of death. Kelsier dies, but is the god of surviving.
Poor Marsh.
Poor Marsh. There's so many interesting dualities with them, but I agree. I think we are going to get more of the Kelsier Marsh dynamic, but I don't think it will be in this book.
Oh, yeah. I definitely don't think we'll see them together. I don't even know if Kelsier, out of the goodness of his heart, would be like, well, I want Marsh to be a demigod. But if you're building up a religion and imbuing yourself with a certain amount of authority, if he and Marsh are still on good terms, he thought Wax was doing his brother's work, it could be useful to have a lieutenant that also has some authority.
Oh, I see the ancient calamity wob of... When are we going to see Iron Eyes again? He'll probably make an appearance in the Lost Metal. I'm not sure he will be back from where he is in time. Of course, this is February 2016, but...
Could change.
I'm sure Brandon remembers that wob specifically.
Oh, I'm sure.
Wrote it down on the promises. He's like, I promised he'd be there. I'm definitely going to do this.
Yeah, his memory on Mistborn stuff is so good over these times.
But what that does show is at that time is he was thinking about what's going on with Marsh in the background.
Sure.
And whether or not he could make an appearance work. So I think that's clear that he has plans for Marsh.
Yeah.
Whether or not we see them in this book.
Yeah. I think it would take a secret history too to get a ton of Marsh.
Yeah. Indeed.
Which we deserve a secret history too.
Yeah. Marsh deserves a secret history too.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And then we have all this stuff with the set, right? Like the set is sort of... I mean, the set's faceless immortals don't seem super happy with the set. So, like, what's going to go on with the set and Telsin?
Yeah, is she going to wind up turning against them, deciding that maybe they aren't so great? Or is she going to continue to be essentially this franchise's evil Lynn? I mean, she's... We all predicted the heel face turn in Bands of Mourning.
Oh, I mean, not.
No, really?
No, I don't know.
Oh man, I saw it coming a mile away.
Some people did, but so Murphy seemed to as well. But
yeah, it was super obvious. It was obvious even before Bands of Mourning was released.
Oh, I don't agree. But
I had it figured out long time ago.
I think you can make that speculation reasonably, but I don't think it was obvious by any stretch of the imagination.
It was, from a narrative perspective, it was obvious. Sure. I mean, maybe not necessarily from all of the context clues at first, but looking at it from the perspective of a writer, it was like, oh, wow, this is really telegraphed. Okay. But less expected, though, would be as if she turns back the other way. I mean, it's a possibility. She could go either way at this point.
And she was higher ranking than Edwarn,
yes.
Right? Mm-hmm. So,
yes.
For me, it would be less does she betray the set and more does she turn the set in a different direction? Because if she's so high ranking, she's arguably making the decisions about what the set.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like turning against their set of faceless immortals, or if she finds out they're going to destroy Scadrial, she's either going to turn against them or she's going to go, okay, then you're my ticket off this planet, right?
Yeah. I could see there being an alliance between Telsin and Wax in this book. I don't think Telsin is going to turn against her ideals. It's like she's not going to turn good.
Mm-hmm.
In the idea that Wax is on the side of good and the set is evil, because it's not that simple. But she's going to be the exact same person she is, regardless. There might be potential for an alliance.
But
because of outside.
Yeah.
If those faceless immortals are attacking and killing everyone or something. Yeah.
Yeah, depending on how much she knows and what her actual specific goals are.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the last faceless immortal lines was the set will not need its entire leadership structure going forward. So if they're killing off members of the set, that's a pretty easy decision that you're not our friends anymore. I don't think I've been trying to decide if I think the set will be around in Era 3, and I've decided I don't think they're going to last that long. Maybe some of their plans will have repercussions, or maybe like a splinter group, but Brandon has kind of shown that he's not a big fan of having a villain be defeated multiple times and still come around. He likes to just end them and say, oh, they're not a threat anymore. It's over. So I think they're not going to be incredibly long lasting.
I think the set's only legacy, if anything, in Era 3 would be like if there's Mistborn again. Like if the Mistborn serial killer Brandon's talked about is actually a Mistborn.
Or if it's Kelsier.
Possible.
Could be.
Yeah. I would actually kind of like to see, to draw on, like, MCU has a lot of issues in terms of storytelling. One of the best things they did, in my opinion, was Hydra coming back in Winter Soldier. Like, this was a secret organization that we thought was like destroyed decades ago. Turns out they've been here all along.
Winter Soldier was a good movie.
I would like to see something like that with the set. Wax and Co. like think the set is dissolved, but it's not quite as gone as they think it is.
Yeah, I'm trying to think if the set's Faceless Immortals. I mean, they don't need the set's full leadership structure, but maybe is Telson in their good graces or not? Like, it really depends on what specifically they're planning. They don't sound nice, so I don't know. So maybe Telson is on their good graces.
They don't require any sections of the leadership structure that were dumb enough to get themselves captured.
I guess, yeah. So I don't know. But I do think the set will be done in this book. I think it's time. Wax has foiled their plans. That said, we haven't really dealt with the Trell stuff, so like the set might be gone, but Trell will probably still be around. That's kind of what I think.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And maybe Trell does a similar thing later and sets up another organization to help them, maybe. I don't know.
Our secret societies in the Cosmere.
Great, just what the Cosmere needs more of. He would need to make it pretty different from the set if they do it again, but... But yeah, what do we think is going to happen with Trell? Like, it's really hard to say.
I think a powerful blow will be dealt against Trell in whatever form that takes. I do think Trell will be important for Era 3. Like, there's a part of me that wants Trell to be dealt with in this book, and then like it's the set in Era 3. But I don't think that's what's going to happen, unfortunately.
I think we have a wob that, like, we will learn about Trell in this, but Trell is Era 3. Like, Trell is relevant for Era 3. So I think that's pretty confident. I think I agree with Ian. There will be a setback, but the vibe will be, you haven't seen the last of me.
I think the heroes are going to get to a point where they think they've dealt with Trell, but like that'll, they'll defeat the something or other, because like there's been this arc, like Trell's been woven through all 3 books, so I feel like narratively we need some resolution with like the immediate threat of Trell, but the broader threat of Trell will be future.
They may take care of, assuming that this is an Avatar situation like we assume it is, they may take down a single Avatar, which is really just going to make the Source more annoyed with them. Yeah. But I think whatever happens, it's going to set the stage for interplanetary conflict in the future throughout the Cosmere.
It's one of those things where it's like they'll cut off like Trell's ability to influence right now, but as we see in Stormlight, like on the timescale of shards, like, okay, I'll wait a couple decades, a couple centuries, like I can be patient.
No big.
Yeah, like we absolutely need to learn what Trell is specifically, I think, because that has been such a mystery, and like how Trell got there you know? Because, like, there's a mystery with, like, why was Trell suddenly, why is this old religion coming back? Like, that's what Marasi was looking at.
Yeah.
So we absolutely have to get those answers, but that problem overall does not necessarily need to be solved. But we need to know what Trell is and kind of what their motivation is as well, right?
I'm interested to see how Brandon explains Trell, like, in terms of this book. Because like I think we're all pretty like confident like Trell is some sort of avatar
of autonomy.
Yeah. But in terms of Scadrial, how is that going to get explained? Because like in Rhythm of War, it's like returned are explained in terms of like the heralds and the fuse.
Then we see Dalinar show up and it's like, I'm a fused, what's up?
It's like, sorry, I should have released this after book 5. I'm realizing that.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen.
I think they are laying the groundwork, though. Like, Marasi has kind of said it out loud where they go, what could scare a god? And she's like, another god. And they know that there's another god coming. I think we'll learn more about what that other god is, but I don't know that there's too much more that needs to, I guess, like, maybe Brandon can explain a little more, but I think they're already kind of laying the groundwork for, okay, there are other gods out there. There's another god encroaching.
It would be nice, though, to get some answers, because, like, Trell, the name, has been around for a long time on Scadrial. And also, I don't know if this is just Brandon liking the concept or if he's meaning something by it, but Trell's original mythology is also similar to the Pure Laker religion.
That is true. Yeah, that's true.
Like, he's been kind of weaving this idea throughout, and so Trell's just becoming a threat now, but have they been active on Scadrial for a long time?
Yeah, I guess what I want to know is sort of some reference to why Trell was just a dude on Taltane and how that's related to Trelligism and now to Trellism. I would really like some allusion, because I just don't understand what's going on there. Like, there's like, it is simple to say, oh, it's another god. Like, yeah, okay, that's fine. But like, how did he get there? Like, why and what? Like, all those specifics. Yeah, I think we'll get some of that.
I don't think the White Sand fans are clamoring for an explanation about Trell the Foreman, or we'll see anything about that.
I want to know about the Foreman, Brandon.
Yeah, I do want the bridge between Trelligism and Trellism, since they theologically are so different. I want to understand what happened there, and they could just be Trell twisting stuff, but I do want to know.
Yeah, I totally agree with that for sure. So, all right, so there's all this Trell stuff. There's Atium stuff. Well, whatever the lost metal is, really. Yeah, I don't know. But we really have to deal with Set and Trell. But how much Southerner stuff are we going to have? Like, how much is that going to progress? Are they going to be less of a... Like, there's just so many things to juggle, so I don't know what's going to actually be in the book. How much Southerner stuff is going to be here?
It's hard to really predict, because we don't know where the main plot line is going to be.
Not at all.
They could play a very heavy role, or it could just be Alec tagging along.
I would like to see him.
I hope he's back. Yeah, I think
I suspect we will at least see Alec, because he has his own little character threads that need to not be dropped.
Yeah, we need them and Alec and Marasi to get together. That's so good.
I have an alternative that I would like to propose, which is I would like for a reversal of the original Marasi Wax dynamic, where Marasi is this badass and Alec is kind of like her like biggest fan a little bit. You know?
Yeah, okay.
And she's like, "Oh, you're great, but this doesn't really work for me." I think that could be kind of
cute.
It'd be a cool way to bring Marasi full circle from where she began.
And it kind of mirrors the Vin hero worshipping Kelsier and then Spook hero worshipping Vin.
It does.
You know, like, it's kind of a similar.
Don't put Alec in the same breath as Spook. Alec is way better.
Alik is I do want more Alik, definitely.
I think we got to see him again.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we're at least going to have Alik. I just don't know how much medallion stuff. Like, there's so many mysteries with that Sovereign's Temple. Are we going to get any of that?
We're getting the flowchart, Eric. We're getting the medallion flowchart on page 354. No.
Yeah, it'll be in the broadsheet.
Alamancer Jack will explain medallions.
The broadsheets are known for being very accurate and not at all biased or unusual, so great. That would be such a troll if we're like, I would like to know how medallions work, and then you get it in the broadsheet, and the broadsheet we're like, how much of this is actually true though?
Yeah, it's like there's like half of it is plausible, and then half of it's like, well, we know this part is wrong.
Yeah,
definitively, because that's not how anything works. This part, like this is part of the explanation we got in Bands of Mourning. Where do all the other pieces fit?
Come back in Era 3 to find out. Yeah.
Excisors? Are we gonna get excisors?
Yeah.
Well, Era 3, like, I'm assuming unkeyed metal mind tech is going to be
super common,
widespread.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm guessing he'll save a lot of how it works for those.
Maybe. I felt like when he was saying he would give us a flowchart if it wasn't actually explained in the Lost Metal, I do agree they're going to get more in depth, because my belief about Era 3 is always just going to be we're applying science to Allomancy books.
Yeah.
But I do think we'll get at least more of an explanation than there as they run from the set really quick and dirty. Like, here's how it works. I think we'll get a little more.
Yeah. But I don't think we're going to get Southern Scadrian war against the North. I don't think that's going to happen.
They're so far.
And
Southern Scadrial isn't even, one government. They have their own splits too. So you can wind up with alliances between different factions of northern and southern groups. And I think it's going to be a lot more complicated than just like raw edited basin versus southerners.
For sure. Mm-hmm. But I just don't think that is the plot thread that this book's going to go.
No.
The existence of the Southerners, though, is one of the reasons that I am skeptical that it's going to be a war book, because my understanding of the way things at Bands were kind of looking were things are getting tense in the basin, but oh, damn, we now have this external threat that is in many ways technologically superior to us. We may hate you, but at least you're our kind.
Yeah.
And they're going to have, and I think that that's how it's going to lead into, if Brandon sticks with the Cold War theme of Era 3, it'll be Cold War. Northern Hemisphere, Southern Hemisphere.
That'd be sweet. That'd be really cool.
And to go on the Cold War Cold War theme would be cool. Like,
wouldn't it be good?
The arms race.
It'd be so perfect in the setting.
The arms race idea. What role do we think the Bands of Mourning are going to play?
Oh, because the bands were given to the Khandra.
Yeah. Like, do we think are they just like put on a shelf and we don't hear about them at all, or do we break them back out again?
We have our top men on it.
Like, they're out there, and they will always be out there until they're destroyed. So that's a good point.
Or all the reserves are totally tapped, right?
Well, they had the implication in the end of Bands was that they thought they could use compounders to refill them if they needed to.
Okay.
But compounders are also not exactly a dime a dozen. So,
but the bands make you a compounder. So while you're holding it, could you use the bands to refill themselves?
I think as long as you didn't bottom it out and leave it totally empty.
Yeah. Though, I mean, that would work for refilling all of the ferrochemical stuff.
Yeah.
But it's easier to fill allomancy than ferrochemy. So.
Yeah. I like how, again, we're just like totally getting on like mechanical tangents.
It's very confusing.
It is. Well, it would be nice to have some more on Nigrosyl and storing investiture and stuff. Some additional details would be useful.
But to answer your question, I find it highly unlikely that we'll never see the Bands of Mourning again. It's like, I don't think we'll see them in Lost Metal. But Era 3, I think we'll see them. It's like they're going to be under research, that sort of thing. Because like it is, I can't think of the right metaphor. There's a really good metaphor I'm trying to go for. I don't have it. It's like the cat's out of the bag. Like it exists.
Yeah.
Everyone knows it's there.
Yeah. And everybody wants it.
Yeah, it's just with them given to the Kandra, like I don't know if that's going to be freely researchable, because that was the whole point of giving it to the Kandra, that they were neutral.
The Kandra will research it, I believe.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What's his name? Vendel.
Oh yeah.
Right? That's
beyond that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like I could see like, like there's a joint task force of like Northerner and Southerners scholars like that are going to wherever the Kandra are keeping it and doing their research, and it's like the tensions of that, where it's like, yes, it is being researched, that research is being heavily controlled.
Ooh,
it is like the power play of that.
Alternate scenario. The Kandra do not share the bands. They do not think it's a good idea. Neither does Harmony. Mm-hmm. But both sides now know that it's possible. So instead of a nuclear arms race, we have a Bands of Mourning arms race where they are trying to
that'd be sweet.
To recreate them.
Yeah. Exactly.
Kelsier's still running around as a nice monkey in the wrench in that, because he theoretically knows how they're made.
Oh, he definitely should.
Yeah,
I would hope so. He's the one person I think does.
Another genre it would be cool to revisit, because he's done this before, is if it was I don't think so, but if they did it as a heist, like went back to
I mean, an Era 2 heist story, that like a pulpy, fun heist story to like steal the lost metal from someone or something. Like, I think that's cool. Actually, you just reminded me, Matt. Jess had an idea for the lost metal that Trell corrupted some of that Atium reserve that Harmony like kept to keep himself in balance. So I really like that idea, that maybe Trell got a hold of that, and then and now it's corrupted, or they put Trell stuff in it, right? That's
we're back to finding the Atium cache.
I mean, it's the lost metal. I would assume the premise of the book is to find it, right?
Yeah.
It just does set up an interesting precedent, where it's like, will the last entry in every era involve finding a secret cache of Atium?
No. It'll in the end of Era 4, it'll be finding Adenalcium metal.
Dragonsteel?
Yeah, right. Sure.
Yeah.
To be fair, that's plausible.
Yeah, it is. I will say, for those who are listening, we do not know that there's a secret cache of Atium that is out there.
We don't.
Out the ruin part of Harmony. That's a common theory, but we don't know that it exists.
We absolutely do not know that it exists.
And we don't know. It probably exists.
Well, there's something that Sazed probably needs to do about the balance matter. I
think that he has also said that the balance question is another thing he was going to talk about in Era that we should expect to come up in Era 3 in a relatively recent WoB. Like last 2 years. So,
but I don't know if let's steal the Atium. Maybe the set has it. I mean, Mistborn is so good for heist stories, though. Like you like, it's clearly designed with that in mind. It's so easy to make a heist story if you want to.
Yeah. The kind of interesting thing about the Atium, though, is without a Mistborn existing or somebody with an Atium burning spike, is there any way for them to even make use of it?
Yeah.
True. You know?
Only
are there Atium mistings? We've never really had it firmly answered that there are. I guess, did he say that there are no more Atium mistings? Because I feel like that's something we say and then we don't actually know.
No. Are you referring to the potential preservation switching on the elemency table?
Yeah.
I don't want to think about that.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Switched it back, supposedly.
Do we know that? Like, honestly, so listeners, just for some context, in case you're not one of the cast members on here who knows what the hell we're talking about, because I feel like most of you don't know what we're talking about, is that there was an allusion to maybe Harmony switching cadmium and bendeloy with Atium and Malatium, right? So
preservation.
Preservation. No. Preservation switching. Yeah. Yes. And I remember a few years ago, David, we both tried to find this, and the best thing is just me asking a question about switching, and I feel like I base that on something, but I can't find the answer. So deep down, it's just me asking about switching, but clearly there had to be 16 groups of mistings, right? That was the whole point of that. So the whole matter of, are there no more Atium mistings because now there's cadmium and bendalloy mistings? What does that mean? Very open question.
I also vaguely remember something about how it wasn't cadmium and bendalloy, it was aluminum and duralumin that got replaced instead.
I remember
chromium or nigrosyl too.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Any of those metals could have very easily been switched out.
All I know is that people in World placed it in the temporal segment, which doesn't need to mean that's where preservation put it or anything. But all I know is that the whole switching is very weird, and the strongest basis is just a thing that I supposed in a question once. So
there's not. I feel like that was in an annotation or something. But
look,
if you
we could not find it. We could not find it.
Pretty hard.
We looked really hard.
I've seen it too, and it's just
it might just be a thing that I've been saying for so long that you're like, oh yeah, that was the thing, right?
Well, it might be shard blades are stored in the spiritual realm.
Oh,
which was a wob that we thought that some people thought existed for a very, very long time, myself included.
Yeah,
and there was no record of the wob ever existing,
and it's not true. So now we know that it was never true. But
or we sometimes skip timelines.
Yeah, sometimes
that's true.
Fan assumptions, especially after 15 years, become so baked in that it gets difficult to separate the fact from the fiction.
Since 2008, Matt, we're in that Hero of Ages thread and learning about this stuff.
Well, yeah, it would be if all of a sudden the principle of intent was wrong, right? This
but that's
fan
confirmed,
theory
though.
He's confirmed now.
Yeah. He confirmed that one.
If he hadn't confirmed it, a theory like that's been around for so long.
Yeah.
And then it's
Yep. So open question as to whether Atium mistings could exist at all. Maybe. I literally have no idea the details on the switching, what types of mistings exist. Totally unknown. Wow, we have really gone on several really esoteric mechanical Scadrial things in this podcast, and I kind of love it. It's kind of great.
I think part of it it's been so long since we've had a Scadrial book. So yes, we're excited to go back to the characters and everything.
Yeah.
But we're excited to jump back into the world as well. And so I think that's part of why there's a lot of mechanical stuff coming out of it.
Yeah. We still have plenty of character stuff we need to discuss.
We do. We are going to actually get to characters. It's just funny because I wouldn't think to do a podcast on this because I won't be able to remember that's I have strong feelings about a thing, and now we're in a show, and then it's the preservation switching of mistings, oh boy. Though I do still think that Mistborn could have still burned whatever metal was switched. I think Mistborn could still have burned.
Yeah. It's switched in terms of the mists were snapping them.
Imagine Vin with access to bendalloy and be very afraid.
Yeah.
Or still we got a glimpse of it with the Bands of Mourning, but the Lord Ruler being able to compound every metal and being experienced with it.
I'm just going to say the Lord Ruler should have never lost. He should have at least controlled the Inquisitors to kill Vin. So it's just, why did he die? Hubris.
They were dead already. Marasi killed all the Inquisitors. He could have controlled Marsh, maybe.
Yeah, that would have been pretty useful to do.
Yeah. No, it was, he was so confident. And to be honest, it's also fair that he was so confident because
it's true. He is so powerful.
He had been around for 1,000 years, so this little upstart Mistborn brat thinks she can take me? Ha. Oh crap.
Okay, we should really talk about some character stuff though before we just
characters and
So we talked a bit about Wax and the sword, but we didn't talk about like hopes necessarily for his character arc, really. So we're gonna go through the characters, and speculation and hopes on them. What's he gonna do, or what does he need rather? You know,
I'm okay with one last ride because he has to have. It's an adventure story. It's gonna be adventurous. I would like Wax to be kind of finally settling in and more content with what I think his ultimate role will be, which is being a senator and being a decent lord. I'm also a person who, given the tragedy of the end of Mistborn Era 1, am kind of hoping for a little bit of a happily ever after for our characters. I don't want to see any big character deaths, but maybe that's just me.
Oh, sure. So
I'm hoping he's going to make it. I don't want to see Wax. Like, we already got a Wax death scare. You never know.
It'll be so great. Even the second time Wax maybe dies.
But you know, if Brandon kills Steris, we riot.
We will riot. Yes, that's true.
No more dead wives.
No more dead wives.
Exactly.
No. We just have to have Wax kill his wife again.
Wax has to shoot Steris because he needs to kill his wife 3 times.
Yeah.
No, Steris is going to shoot Wax. Needs to right the balance of the universe.
Role reversal. I like it. It's really bringing it back from the prologue of Alloy of Law. You know, we do need some bloody tan answers, actually, in this book. Thinking about that, we really need to know, like, was he, like, how was he related to Trell, right? Because he knew things, he kind of talked like Palm. There's definitely
Did he have
stuff
a Trellium spike in him affecting his behavior?
Yeah.
Was he a tool for Trell to get his hands on Palm?
So I think we do need answers about that, and I think that would be fun for Wax to discover. Yeah, David, I also agree. I don't want big character deaths. I think probably the best way to get an ominous sort of thing is if we think we dealt with Trell, but he actually like wounded Harmony somehow, right? Like that would be a cool ending sort of thing where our characters are, you know, they're good.
That's more than enough of a downer for me in this set of books.
Yeah. I don't really want any of our 4 characters to die. Like
Wayne can die, but
dang. Wax does need to like deal with and like really come to terms with that whole adventure thing, like you shouldn't hate yourself for your duty and things like that. So off that Harmony scene in Bands of Mourning. So I think we do need to see that. I just don't know where his character will really like go from there.
It would also be nice, I think, to get more of a, even more than we already have, like of the like really seeing like the passing the torch, which it seems like how the book is going to begin. Like if it's still true that Wax is retired at the beginning.
Sure, right, yeah.
But you know, like because like him and Marasi have had these struggles in the last 2 books about, you know, him not really like trusting Marasi's competence.
Yeah,
so it would be cool now that they've kind of worked through that a bit to see him actually deferring to her and letting her handle things.
Recognizing that Marasi is a Banff and should be listened to.
Yes.
Well, like the whole thing with like at the beginning of Bands of Mourning when they're like, oh, we'll go to our second choice, Marasi, and then Wax is just like, this is a roundabout way to get to me, isn't it? And
Marasi's offended.
It kind of was.
It kind of was, but it's like, oh, thanks. Thanks, guys.
And personally, I was really mad when Marasi handed over the Bands of Mourning because I was ready for her to just be...
I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Oh, I liked it, but because it was her like saying like, I'm not the I don't want to be the action hero, and that's who I've never been. Yeah. I've got better ways to be doing good in a more modern way.
Yeah,
I liked it in that way.
Satisfying point on her character arc for her to be comfortable with who she is and that she doesn't need to be Wax in order to be amazing.
Well, and it's like she doesn't need to be Wax, but she also doesn't need to be Vin. I think was more present in her mind in that moment. It's like, I am a woman, like I can be a hero without being like Vin. Because like Wax definitely follows in Vin's path, I think.
Yeah. I would like that for Marasi and that passing of the torch. So I wonder just how gotta get Wax in on another adventure one last time. Like, I don't know how that's gonna go. I imagine Brandon has a way to make it different than what he did in Bands.
And I just say I find it really funny the speculation about whether or not him and Steris have kids.
Yes.
Because I remember Well of Ascension ended with a marriage, and then there was a lot of speculation. Will Vin be pregnant? Will Vin have a kid?
Yep.
And then now we're going into the last book where we've just had a marriage, and it's like the same. It's just funny.
It is. I'm so glad that Vin didn't have a kid. That would have been such a different book.
That's not good.
Leaving that poor kid behind the way they would have.
Yikes! Yeah, that's a good point.
We didn't know when we were speculating.
Oh yeah.
On the one hand, On the one hand, Orphan would be sad. On the other hand, I'm also kind of sad that they didn't leave any kind of legacy of awesomeness behind. But that was probably the one way Brandon could make sure that's like no more Mistborn.
I guess that's true with the last Mistborn.
Almost certainly would have been carrying strong Mistborn genes. They were not Mistborn themselves.
Yeah. But also, like, if there was a kid, the ending of Hero of Ages would not have happened. Like, Vin would not have sacrificed herself.
That's true.
The only reason she did is because Ellen died. It's like, and not because like, oh, like my husband died, I have nothing to live for. It's just like, this is something I need to do. He was holding me back. Like, I couldn't die and leave him behind. Well, he's dead.
Now I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah.
It's like a kid, like she wouldn't have left behind a kid.
Yeah, I'm glad that wasn't a thing. But we have it confirmed that Wax and Steris will have kids, right?
Maybe not
eventually,
in this book, but at some point there will be children.
I really
It means Steris has to live, and I suppose Wax does too. But
I definitely don't want Steris's plot line to be about caring for kids. Like maybe a little bit. Like it could be interesting to have a bit of that, but that not be the main plot, right?
Yeah,
I still like the idea of Wax being the primary caregiver and her doing all of the politics house stuff because she's better at it than he is.
Yeah, like that would be like I do like the idea of Wax being like a very like attentive father. I think there's going to be a nanny. Quite honestly, like Steris would hire somebody to like care for them, like in the way they need it, because
after an extensive interview process,
and Wax would be constantly driving the nanny crazy because he wants to take the kids and go do fun things. It's just like children need structure.
Do we know? I know there's a time jump, but we don't know how big of a time jump it is.
No, we don't.
After Bands,
you know
right?
nothing.
We basically know nothing. Lost Metal predictions. We don't know crap.
There is a word, Brandon, that it's a couple of years later.
Okay.
I mean, you could take that literally and think 2, or you could take that figuratively and go anywhere from 2 to 5.
Yeah, I'd say 2 to 5. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's not going to be that long.
No. Brandon has to make it 5 years because it's been 5 years, over 5 years since we saw Bands.
By the time it comes out, it will be, as someone here already pointed out, almost 7.
Yikes.
Yeah.
We've been waiting for this for a very long time.
Yes.
It'll be interesting, like, because he can't do it too long if he wants to keep Era 2 in the gap between first half of Stormlight, second half of Stormlight.
He's already backpedaled on that to where he doesn't know exactly where it's going to be, whether it's going to be in between or if it's going to be sometime during the back 5.
When does Brandon actually know the chronology? Karen does, but I don't think Brandon does.
We'll get the official timeline after everything's done.
That's right.
Yeah, and Karen has figured it out.
Yep.
But I think, when because he is going to need to map up, like, for example, where Kelsier is when.
Yes.
Right? So,
and where Hoyd is when.
And where Hoyd is when, probably more importantly. So, like, I think it makes sense to have stuff happening on Scadrial when not as much is happening on Roshar, if there are going to be characters you want in both places.
That just really reminds me. Hoyd gave the coin to Wax about Kelsier. So I wonder if we'll see some more Hoyd stuff in the book.
I'd love that.
Yeah.
I would also love that.
Because we know that in Stormlight, he is on to Kelsier's Ghostblood nonsense. And maybe that is why he has come back to Scadrial during Era 2, is he is more closely investigating the survivors.
Oh, yeah.
Crap.
Yeah.
What are the Hoyd appearances we've had so far in Era 2? We had talking to Josh and Mish at the wedding.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Our Josh and Mish.
It was Wax's carriage driver.
Carriage driver.
He was eavesdropping on the conversation with Harmony.
Yeah, right. Yeah, jeez.
And it was a crazy old man who drank perfume that gave him the coin.
Okay.
Yeah.
He's definitely there. Very plausible.
I could be wrong, but I feel like Wax was kind of like who was that beggar when he got the coin? Like, he was kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah.
Like,
that's very interesting.
We've got to get a fourth Hoyd appearance because he's been in every Mistborn so far. Like, he's got to do.
He's always doing something.
Yeah,
it may not be relevant to what we're actually paying attention to.
I do like that. In contrast to Stormlight Archive, Hoyd in Mistborn series is very much more behind the scenes. Like, it's more like Easter eggs, whereas in Stormlight Archive, he's more direct. So I hope Brandon kind of keeps that going, and that the Hoyd appearance is like more of an Easter egg here. I
think he's going to be more prominent in Mistborn Era 4 this time.
Yeah, because he's a main POV.
Yeah.
But maybe that's more on like the Rosharan side of things, right? Rather than like
that's possible.
Super pro Scadrial, but I don't know.
I mean, he might even be trying to figure out how to keep them from fighting.
Maybe,
or maybe he's encouraging it, and we don't know.
Sure.
Yeah,
but it's very plausible he would be working against the Ghostbloods on Scadrial itself, right? He figures out how to world hop with a Spren. He's got places to go now, and then he has full reign to do much more things.
If he does show up, I'm going to be like laser focused. Like, any indication of Roshar and light weaving or like weird lines moving as design. Like,
because wasn't in Alloy of Law like he had the angular nose, right? So he wasn't like he didn't light weave himself into being like someone totally different that we wouldn't recognize, right? He still uses the name Hoyd in Shadows of Self, I guess, right?
Yeah, well, I think he keeps some commonality, but he like physically like modifies himself in some way, because he looks Alethi on Roshar and doesn't look Alethi other places.
Yeah, that's true. It's just funny if so many people are chasing you and you have Roshar and light weaving. You can look like whatever you want, basically.
Oh yeah.
But
that's cheating, as we know. Hoyd thinks that's cheating. I would like to see Chris or Nas again. I think that's more of a pipe dream.
That'd be cool.
Oh yeah,
because they were there. Yeah,
trying to find out about talking tools on the broadsheet.
Ooh, that's true.
And it's like whizzing Wax about.
Like she gave Wax an address in Elendel.
She did. She gave him her card.
Right.
Ooh. Oh man, I think I'm gonna riot if there's just an oblique reference to, oh yeah, I saw that woman that I met in New Saran and I did that all off screen. I'm like, Brandon, no.
Or it's just like, I went there and they'd moved out, and you're just like, why would you even get my hopes up? I forgot about that card.
Yeah. It's even though a lot of us have reread it recently, it's like, oh wow. Yeah. So many interesting things. Let's talk about Wayne, though. What do we think is going to go on with Wayne, his character? Because I want to see the character conflicts to be wrapped up satisfactorily.
I I have thoughts.
Okay.
I have major thoughts.
Okay.
So, I mean, we know at this point that the prologue is Wayne's past, which I think tells us that tells us we're going to see a lot of character work with him in this book, because he is long overdue for some growing up.
Totally.
And I was thinking yesterday, and I kind of had a bit of an epiphany on why I relate to Wayne the way I do, because I love him as a character. I adore him, but he also bothers the crap out of me. Right. And I figured out why. And this might get a little heavy. Maybe you're going to want to cut this later, but
I don't know. Let's find out.
When I was a freshman in high school, I was almost a victim of an almost campus shooting.
Oh.
Obviously I don't talk about it much, but it was a really weird situation. The guy pulled a gun on me and my significant other at the time, and neither of us believed it was real at the time, because I mean, we were 18-year-old idiots. What are you going to do? Sure. And we still don't know exactly why he wound up pulling back. It might be that because we were reacting so weird that it knocked him out of whatever fugue state he'd gone into. But instead of shooting us, he instead put the gun away and picked up a really big, heavy wooden chair and threw it halfway across the room. And then we're like, oh, this was real. And then he stormed out. And at that point, we're like, oh. And the whole thing was really dumb. I think he had a bad day anyway. And this is why I have zero patience with dumb debates about things like soda. What do you call it, soda or pop? Because that is what triggered the whole thing.
Oh, really?
But,
oh, jeez.
Yes. That is why I will not. I just shut down those kinds of arguments, because I can't.
That's fair.
But I mean, after that, and he was charged, and there was a trial. I had to testify. I don't know exactly what happened. I don't know whether he was found guilty or not, because they never told me. But it was some years later that I ran into this guy again. And he had changed his entire look. And if someone changes their facial hair, man, I'm just not going to recognize them, because I am beard blind. So I didn't recognize him first. I was working in a game store, and he comes in, and I didn't realize it was him until he's checking out and hands me his debit card. And I look at it, and I see his name. And at that point, I'm sure he was trying to figure out if I was who he thought I was. And I could feel all the blood drain from my face. Yeah. And I held it together long enough to check him out and get him out of the store. And then I had my freak out. But and then I never saw him again, which is good. But I've had a lot of conflicted feelings about this guy for a very long time, but it wasn't until a few years ago that I found out through the grapevine that he had seriously turned his crap around, had gone somewhere in Southeast Asia and was building hospitals or something like that, and just made this huge 180 of his life, and has been apparently trying really, really hard to put a lot of good in the world. And it really affects how I see Wayne, because I love him as a character, and he's fun as hell to read for me, but he also has this tie into things where I can really, really empathize with the girl. He's the daughter of the man he killed, for not wanting to have anything to do with him. And so I'm seeing these pieces fit together, and I'm to the point now where the guy who almost shot me, I'm like, you know what? I don't forgive the person that he was, but I can forgive who he is now. And we're never going to be friends if we ever come across each other, but I'm just dude, I'm cool with your existence. Just don't talk to me. And I see Wayne trying to do some of the same things. He's obviously made a big change in his life, but he's still so hung up on the crap that he did that he keeps doing stupid shit to punish himself that annoys the hell out of everyone else around him and even traumatizes other people. And I'm just to the point where, like, Wayne, you need to make like this other guy and, you know, forgive yourself so you stop doing all the self-sabotage crap and can truly move on from what you did. And that's where I'm sitting here. That's what I want to see in this book. And I know I just unloaded a whole lot of crap here, but it's why I have such a strong emotional reaction and a strong emotional investment in Wayne's development as a character, because I want to see him progress to the part where he can really leave it behind and stop being such a to people because you want to be punished by them. You know, because I'm sure that's half his problem there. He's always saying this stupid crap because he wants everyone to think he's a terrible person. But he isn't who he was anymore. And if I can see that in someone who nearly murdered me 25 years ago, then I can see it in a fictional character.
Yeah, I think that now that you say that, I think that's exactly where Wayne's character should go. And thank you for telling that story, because that was that was a lot, but that was relevant, and that I'm not cutting it. Yeah, it was good.
And I think I agree. Like, as a Wayne hater, I can be. I think that would be a satisfying
Bring that dislikes.
way.
Thanks, Matt.
To kind of move his character forward and give him some sense of progress, and kind of reframe some of the issues with his character before. I think the two things I'd want to see resolved is, I agree, his relationship with this awful thing he did in his past. Like, get some movement on that. And then I also want to see some movement on his relationship with Wax.
Yeah.
Because him and Wax have, and I think it's tied together because Wax like saved him from this thing that he did. They've got a weird dynamic where Wax has like this blind spot for Wayne, and Wayne is like kind of like weird and like, well, a lot of Wayne's like angst at Steris, for example, seems really over the top, and I think it's tied with what he thinks Wax needs and who Wax should be. And so I think if Brandon could find a way to get Wayne to a place where he's recognizing and not resolving, because you never fully resolve things, but making progress and growing on those 2 points, it could be really satisfying.
Like, let go that Wax could, like, that he doesn't need Wax to be good, maybe.
And having him functioning as Marasi's deputy, I think, is going to be a really strong step for that, towards that, because he has to learn how to interact with other people without leaning on Wax.
I'm kind of, and what I'm, the end of bands I thought was really interesting, because I really didn't understand the depth of his affection for Wax. Like, I've never been scared of Wayne or thought he was scary until he was going after Telson after he thought that they had killed Wax. And that was a pretty intense bond that he has. And I'm a little curious, because the last time Wax left him to go be deputy somewhere else, he stuck around for a little while, but he eventually found his reason to work his way back to Wax. And I'm wondering how functional his relationship is with Marasi, or if she's kind of like, come on, like, Wayne, we're keeping you on the line, but he's always looking for a reason to go back and find Wax, because that's just what he does.
Yeah, I think he was waiting for Wax to come back for months. He's like, he'll be back any day now. And then finally one day he was like, he's not coming back. All right, well, I guess I better go after him.
I think that if anybody could not replace Wax as Wax, but like replace Wax as like, okay, like, I'm going to be the deputy to this person, like, it is Marasi.
Yeah.
It's like, I think because like we do see them working together in New Saray and in Bands of Mourning,
which is excellent, by the way.
And we see Marasi calling Wayne out on his crap more than once,
also excellent,
which is what he needs.
Yes.
Yeah, but it's like I think they'll eventually be able to have like a very good working relationship.
Agreed.
Potentially better than Wax and Wayne's working relationship.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just because like they're meeting at different ages. It's like because Wayne was a teenager when Wax saved him. Like he was a child, basically. Like that relationship was always going to be imbalanced.
Yeah.
But Wayne and Marasi met as adults. Wayne is a man-child of an adult, but
sometimes.
But like he does have some level of maturity at times.
He does.
Their relationship is on a much more equal level.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's probably a healthier one.
Wayne's can be very insightful. And I think he also he doesn't put Marasi on a pedestal. Like he also challenges some of her, some of the artifacts of her upbringing, her whole bashfulness thing, which is a very fun part of, Marasi's character. He kind of pushes her boundaries on that a bit in a friend way. Whereas I think in other interactions, Wayne crosses people's boundaries in a not nice way. But with Marasi, it's always kind of, I don't know, it feels
at least
like
these days. In Alloy, it wasn't as good, but in bands especially.
Yeah.
So
well, and even in chat, I look at the difference in how he treats Marasi versus how he treats Steris.
Yeah.
For example,
for sure.
It's
just their relationship has between Wayne and Marasi has definitely changed from Alloy to Shadows and Bands quite a lot.
I am kind of curious what Wayne's relationship will be with guns going into this book too, given that he was able to pick up that gun and what that actually means for him, whether it was like a moment of crisis or he is in some way managed to resolve that part of, but it would feel odd to me, I think, a little bit if he was just good to go with guns after that, because his decision to pick it up wasn't rooted in anything that had to do with the reason why he had the problems.
Yeah, I think he was so hopped up on grief and adrenaline, he was able to temporarily override his PTSD. And that is a very PTSD related thing that's happening. Every time his hands start shaking, it's flashback trauma.
It's definitely
massive issues.
All three of these things with, that he killed that man as a kid, Wax, and the gun thing. These are all connected. So I feel like we need to address all of them.
Yeah, I can definitely see it's something that he is working on now. It's because he knows he's done it once. He can get past it. It's just not an easy one and done thing.
Yeah.
And he's in the past, I don't think he would have even been open to trying to get over it.
Yeah.
Now he's open to the possibility he might be working on it.
Yeah. With this conversation, I'm actually wow, I'm really excited to see where Wayne's character goes. Because let's be honest, Wax is protagonist, and he is not the most colorful character. And so we kind of need other characters to pick up the slack. So Wayne having a big character arc and really coming to terms with these things, I think, is probably the most important character-y thing, really.
I'm fine with some Wayne character arc. I don't need any more Wayne POVs. I can watch him.
He'll definitely have Wayne POVs. I know, for sure.
I'm not looking forward to them.
Yeah, I will say, I remember in the first Cosmere Beefs episode, I'm like, Brandon likes Wayne more than I do. But in rereading Era 2, I really enjoyed most of Wayne's stuff, except that scene at the beginning of Bands of Mourning. Screw that scene, still too long.
Yeah, it's Wayne. He is a great character. He does get on my nerves a lot, but he is fascinating to read.
Yes,
but it reaches a point where it's okay, I'm done with this. I need sane human brain now, please.
And I think sometimes it's Brandon being too clever when he's writing Wayne, because I think I agree with, like, I kind of like Wayne a little more on reread, and I think part of it is I'm seeing more of what's going on under the surface, because Wayne is always about, like, I'm focusing on this thing over here, but really I'm thinking about, like, this thing underneath.
Yeah.
And I think Wayne and Brandon are almost too good at hiding what's underneath, and so it's easy to fall into, like, this is Wayne being annoying and a jerk again. Where the really interesting part of him isn't, I'm a jerk and I'm kooky and annoying. It's why he is that way and what's going on.
He
under
was
the surface.
so much more fun on a reread, like, especially in bands, except for that beginning very long chapter of all the hijinks to get over to Renette. I hate that scene.
I like the hijinks character. I hate how he ended the scene, and I think Renette should have shot him.
That would have been good, but like, all the rest of Wayne in bands is awesome. Like, it just, him interacting with Marasi, just, they have such great banter and, like, chemistry in the fights and stuff. It's really, really fun to read. And so that, I kind of had forgotten how much I liked that.
And so I'm kind of excited for him in this book, even though I don't love him, because if it is true that he's going to be paired with Marasi, because they're such a fun. Oh, yeah. And also more him and Milan flirtation.
Oh, yeah. Yes. We have to wrap that up, too.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah. That was... Milan's great. If we need to see more Milan, we have to see more Milan. Like, that, she will be in the book for sure, right?
I hope. I want Tensoon though too, so I'm like, oh.
Yeah, it would really be nice to see, like, Tensoon and Marsh. Like, I still don't think we're going to see Kelsier on screen, right?
Yeah. I have too many expectations. It can't be a reunion episode, but I would love to see everybody again.
Yeah.
I personally, like, I love Tensoon, but I found his appearance in Shadows of Self kind of, like, I had the moment, like, the fan, like, oh, it's Tensoon again.
Right.
But I don't know, like, it kind of fell a little short for me, and I'm kind of like, okay, maybe Tensoon is just, like, he was so marvelous in the original series. Like, maybe any appearance of him now is just going to be like, look, this awesome Chandra guy. Like, I'm not sure continually coming back to him is going to be as satisfying as I, in my mind, want it to be.
I will never be tired of watching Tensoon be grumpy about Sumi Pups.
It's true.
Speaking of Tensoon, I want to know why, like, the whole Inspector General Breton, whatever his title is. I don't remember what it is. But Breton.
Yes.
He dies in Alley of Law, and Tensoon replaces him, and, like, gives Wax that, like, you can investigate now.
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy. Yes, that all happened.
We still don't know what actually happened to Breton, because we know Tensoon didn't kill him.
He died in an unrelated circumstance.
Pure
what we know.
Convenient coincidence.
I mean,
he was kind of a jerk. Someone probably got tired of him.
I mean, there's lots of ways that it can be very dangerous to be a constable. Let's be honest. Like, I don't think that's
a very like he wasn't, like, on the streets.
Yeah,
like, he was like an administrator. Like,
maybe he was corrupt. Maybe he got bumped off by some criminal element.
Yeah. Let's talk about Marasi. Where should Marasi's character go? Because this one's probably the trickiest to know where she's going to go in this book, maybe?
Big hero moment in her own way, on her own terms.
That'd be good.
Yeah, a little bit more. She knows who she doesn't want to be. I want a little bit more specifics on who she does want to be, where she does want her career to go.
Yeah.
And take some more steps along that way.
Yeah.
Not a character thing, but I would, and we know it's not a grenade now. I would like her to get a few metal grenades so she can use her cadmium bubbles and trap people in them. I think that'd be fun if that was a thing that we had.
Yeah. Ooh, yeah, that's good.
Marasi, Little Miss by Alamancy is so useless.
Oh, that's
No,
really
it
cool.
isn't.
Oh, she's totally gonna do that, huh?
Yeah.
That's good.
Especially Elite could bring her some stuff. He's like, not just to trade these, but we've got some stuff for you.
Ooh, here's some special gifts for you. Also,
Just using him for his tech.
look, I think there's chemistry there.
I mean, I think she
the-
genuinely likes him.
I think she does. But also, she's the one at the end of Bands researching Trell, so she's probably the person trying to figure that out, and it's almost her plot doing that. So I wonder what Wax is going to be doing. That's interesting.
And she kind of hands it off to Wax, but she's kind of been the one doing because like in book 1, she gets the Hemorrhagy book from Marsh, and then she reads it first, and then at the end of book 2, they have that conversation about who is
She's I think she's going to be the one solving things this time.
Yeah.
She is going to be the one piecing things together because she is just so gung-ho in her research.
Yeah. So I think, because we were wondering, okay, like how is Bax going to get involved? Like if he's mostly retired.
Sure.
I think like she is going to go to him for help because she doesn't think she can do it. But I think like by the end of the book, it's like she is going to be the one that solves the issue. It's like she like went to him for help. He'll obviously be a huge help and like will resolve something like only he can resolve. But like the thing like she went to him for, she will resolve on her own.
I like that.
I could see that. Although I felt like she already kind of thought that she was being sidelined a little bit in Bands, and I felt like she thought she was competent enough in Bands to be doing what she was doing.
True.
And she was planning her own mission. I could see that, Ian. I would be really okay with Marasi kind of having the central like action plotline and having Wax's involvement being mostly like the emotional conflict with his sister and dealing with that.
Ooh, yeah. Whereas like, so Marasi's progressing the plot. Wax
like
almost,
if she finds Telsin and she's like, Wax, I found Telsin.
Yeah,
Wax would come out of retirement for that.
Absolutely, yeah. That or like,
I can see where this scene is going. Wax will be like, I've been searching and poring over information for months and months and months, and you just found her?
That's that's super plausible. Or imagine something like where Telsin goes to see them because like the set's faceless immortals are like killing them, and so Telsin goes to Wax or goes to Marasi.
No,
and
Telsin
Marasi
goes
just
to Marasi because she thinks Wax is going to shoot her.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. And yeah,
I don't know. I think Telsin thinks she can manipulate Wax still.
She probably can. Yeah.
So I kind of like that idea of her just showing up and her being like, Wax, I need you to protect me, and like playing on his like instincts.
It's
so
like,
good.
I do like that, and I do think she thinks she can manipulate him.
Yes.
I don't know if she knows like she'll be able to manipulate him if she gets a chance to speak. And I don't know if she'd be confident enough like that he wouldn't just immediately shoot her before she got a chance to speak.
I think
go to Marasi, like safe interaction.
Yeah, very least she'll go to Marasi first in order to get the inroads to Wax without getting shot.
This sounds like a great start of a book as the inciting incident to go do a thing.
And it's all set up in the previous.
It totally is. Yeah.
Like the danger that could possibly be facing Telsin, and you know, like it's all.
Yeah.
Wait to find out how many things we're right about and how many things were just like.
Or it's like a Rhythm of War where we could never guess the main thrust of that plot line. It's like, wouldn't have guessed that.
They'll be in a left car.
When this is a question, Cosmere wise, when was the last time we were anticipating the last book in a series?
Year of Ages.
Unless you count White Sand. Which I
definitely don't.
Yeah, so, Year of Ages.
Yeah.
So like we haven't been like waiting for Brandon to like wrap up a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And
then we're gonna
I remember
get it,
theorizing about Hero of Ages
in two big bangs because we're gonna wrap up. We're gonna wrap up Mistborn Era 2, and then we're gonna wrap up the second arc of the first arc of Stormlight,
and in the between wrap up Skyward. No big deal, right? I'm sure it'll go great. But yeah, no, that's totally true. I'm just glad that Lost Metal. Well, Brandon did say Lost Metal. It's around 150,000 words, so that's longer than the other Era 2 books. Looking at all the things that Brandon needs to juggle here, I think that's a really good decision. That sounds good.
Yeah.
I mean, let's see. Alloy was somewhere around 115,000, and then Shadows and Bands were both already longer than that.
Yeah.
They've gotten progressively.
Exactly how long?
Yeah.
They've gotten progressively longer. I know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay, Shadows is just a little bit longer than Alloy. Bands is very clearly thicker. I'm looking at my books on the shelf back there.
Yeah.
There we go. Boom, boom, boom.
I love a big last book to a series, though.
I do.
Oh, totally.
I love a big first book. I love big middle book. I want all the books to be big. Give me all the words.
Mm-hmm.
You like big books and you cannot lie.
Very true.
Yeah. So Alloy is 94,000, Shadows is 110, and Bands is 127,000 words.
Okay.
So
longer
than Bands. Nice. Gimme.
Yeah.
And it's decently longer than Bands.
Yeah, that is delightful.
I'm thrilled. Steris. What we talked about the kids matter, but she has POVs. Character arc for Steris.
She should believe that she's more than 7% useful by the end.
That would be good, yes.
We got that first step, but she needs more than that.
Yes.
Or whatever percentage she assigned herself after she had Allomantic medals on her.
Yes.
Like, I kind of want her to avert a war.
That would be cool. Yes.
Because it's like Bax, Marasi, and Wayne are all like doing the adventure things. It's like they're not dealing with the politicians that actually declare war. I could very easily see her as like coming into her own, and just I could like potentially like seeing her get set up to be the governor of the Basin.
Well, that'd be fun.
Yeah,
that would be really fun.
Initially, I was thinking Governor Marasi, but I think I like Governor Steris better. And it would be like Governor Steris and Constable General Marasi. Would be a pretty fun.
That'd be good. Speaking of that, I do want to see Steris and Marasi's relationship have some more depth. So I am a little worried if Steris is going to be off in a different place. So I hope that there will be enough time for them to interact.
Or at least
we get little hints of the depths of their relationship in Bands.
Yeah.
And it's almost all from Marasi's point of view. And I really want to dig into Steris and how she really feels about the people around her. How close does she feel with Marasi? Because Marasi, even though they they only knew each other since, teenagedom, Marasi definitely has a very strong affection for her sister. And it really does come out, especially in Bands, how much she cares about Steris. And I really want to see Steris's inner thoughts and emotions much more clearly, because we don't get much. We get barely any points of view from her.
I think she has like 237 words in Bands. Like I looked at
it's so short, and it's just her dealing with the immediate crisis. And you get to see some of the gears turn in her mind, which is really cool. But I want to see more of her as a character from the inside.
We got more words from Templeton.
And Templeton Fig.
I think too, like they have such an interesting relationship because there's an affection there, but it's also such a complicated relationship, right? Because, Steris was the sister who was out and inheriting and everything. And Marasi is the secret sister, right? Who couldn't tell anyone.
Not so secret anymore, but
not anymore. But like that's part of the background of their relationship. And then I think in some ways, Marasi exemplifies some things Steris envies about other people.
Mm-hmm.
So that they have some interesting dynamics that I would really love to see explored more.
Yeah.
I do really like the idea of Steris averting a war, to circle back. That was a really good one. Mm-hmm. And they almost caused a war by not paying attention to politics. That's true. And bands of mourning.
That is true.
So, and it's like, she's the one that did the negotiations.
At the end of bands, Yeah.
She could be like a prime liaison with the South. That could be something.
Yeah,
too.
that's
Ambassador Steris.
Solid.
Ooh, that's a cool ending, because then like Wax gets his like travel and adventure, but he's like watching the kids being a tourist while Steris travels around as like ambassador.
Well, and also protecting Steris as well. Going on
protecting
as
Steris.
He critique the security guards all the time. Like, you're not covering the windows appropriately.
He's the Vin to her Elend, right?
Yeah. Ooh, see, this is exciting. And so if it's not just a war story, I think that's a really good way to deal with the war plotline, because I do think that stuff does need to be addressed, right? So I like that. That's really good.
Yeah, because it's like it is a plot line that Brandon did in Warbreaker, but like I think none of the parties involved is like Lightsong was the one that was most involved with that plot line, and it was mostly it's like I'm not engaging with this for most of the book, whereas Steris like would be a more active participant in the like, do we go to war? Do we not go to war?
And dealing with all the stuff that comes with that. Wow. I don't know about you all. I'm getting even more excited for Lost Metal, and I'm really excited for Lost Metal. So it's like, ooh, Ambassador Steris, ooh, averting a war. All right, that sounds
hyping
great.
Each other up big time, guys.
Yes.
Well, also, it's just been so long since we've been in Scadrial. It's like
it really has been. So it's like that was one of the things I liked the most about Alloy. It's like, wow, it's really fun to be back in Scadrial. So I bet I'm gonna have that feeling once again in Lost Metal. Like, wow, I missed being in Mistborn and reading new Mistborn stuff, right?
Yeah. One other thing I'd like to see from Steris.
Yeah.
I would like to see her like really stand up for herself and defend herself against another main character, whether it's Wayne or Wax or Marasi, because like so often she's like, she does this thing where she's like, you know what, like she's so cognizant of her own flaws and actually very emotionally intelligent. I think because she's had to be, that she kind of just gets over her own stuff and works through it, and she's like, okay, no, like that upset me, but it's okay. But for her to be really like, no, you're wrong, would be, I think, a fun, powerful moment.
That would be fun. Yeah.
For Steris to have more of. And I don't know, maybe this is just because I just finished reading like the earlier books, like Bands of Mourning, the Wax Steris ship really set sail, set up by Shadows of Self, but no one really treats Steris well in the first two books.
No.
Like they all kind of crap on her a little bit, and so
and I'd like to see some of their Wax and Steris, being power couple Wax and Steris, right? Like that's another thing that I want.
Hopefully she doesn't drink syrup of Ipecac again, because it's like no one should be forced to do that.
Yes.
Like I was like, Steris, I love you for doing it. Don't do that again, please.
Maybe this was a mistake.
He deserves a lifetime of that yellow fizzy drink.
Yes.
I really want to see Wayne finally be nice to her.
Yes.
Because it's about damn time.
Hopefully with the time jump, maybe he's come much more to terms with that. And that would be really nice to see.
Or maybe that's the moment where Steris says, Wayne, I don't deserve this and you need to stop. And he,
Well, I think, I don't think we have gone 2 to 5 years since that moment when Wax is like, enough to Wayne with him not getting it. Like, Wayne is too into whatever Wax says anyway. He will do that. So I don't think we need to worry about that in particular.
If Wayne sees that Wax is genuinely happy with Steris,
yes,
and that she hasn't stolen him away, then he'll come around.
I agree, and I also kind of still like want to find some way that could happen where Steris kind of demands Wayne's respect, not because Wax told him to respect her, but because she is a person that's worthy of
that
Wayne's
would be
respect.
Great.
Yeah, and that she's capable of demanding that for herself.
Yeah.
You know, like she doesn't need, like it was a great moment when Wax did say that, and it was like
very necessary.
Finally, like you're not turning a blind eye to Wayne, and you're doing what's right for Steris because she deserves the best.
Yeah.
But seeing her also do that for herself, I think, would be really powerful.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, I can see it. Like, yes, Wax told Wayne to stop, like, being mean to Steris. That doesn't mean, and he probably will. That doesn't mean he'll start being nice to Steris.
Yeah.
Like, I could see it's like them having a very neutral relationship. They're not malicious to each other. They're not friendly to each other.
But it'd be nice to grow to them being friendly and respect each other.
Chilled out into some sort of frenemy level of things. It's like you think at the beginning of Shadows of Self that they're frenemies, and then Wayne is like really super rude. You're like, oh no, this is much more serious than that.
Ooh, wow. This is all very exciting. I think the final thoughts that I'd have on Lost Metal is I do think we also need an answer with the kidnapped women. Right?
Yes.
I think we gotta have some actual reference to them. And if we're not,
one of them is Steris's cousin. There's still a Steris cousin trapped out there somewhere.
If we're addressing Set and Trell stuff, I imagine that will come out, right?
It will find them.
Yeah.
And this is the book where it has to happen, right?
Yeah, that cannot wait till Era 3. Yeah.
It can't wait. It's not. Yeah.
Yep. What about you all? Any final thoughts about Lost Metal? Things you want to see?
I need it in my hands.
I do want to read it. Yes.
Yeah. I need it so much.
I was planning for my final thought to be Breton, but I worked that in early.
Oh, nice. So Good job.
I have nothing.
What about the weird symbols in the temple, David?
I would like an answer for who Suit had killed on the train in Bands of Mourning that he thought Wax would find impressive.
No one remembers this.
And no one cares, but I think it'd be cool. I would like to know the other 2 of the 5 Southern Scadrian peoples.
That'd be nice.
For the wiki. And I would like for it to have a happy ending.
Could we get an answer as to why all those priests froze to death in the underground chamber by the second fake bands, and they were all just like in semicircles around it? And why who the hell were they?
Medallions ran out.
Yeah, but like, why did they stay there and freeze to death? Like, that's not necessary to do.
Kelsier demands obedience.
Because I imagine the explanation there is something like they needed to make sure that no one knew exactly where it was, so they stayed there and died so that the knowledge would die with them.
Yikes.
Or they died building a temple and they posed them to really sell it. But
I mean,
other final thoughts?
I'd like some Era 1 callbacks. Would be fun, especially like if we're going Lost Metal, like having some like cool ties like we've had in some of the other books would be cool.
Yeah.
And selfishly, I want an Ilarial name drop because we have not gotten one in the books.
No, only Techiel.
Venture
and we've gotten Hasting, we've gotten Lakal.
That's
even
true.
Adventure.
And
even Adventure.
Yeah, no Ilarial. Well, Brandon at least said that they're
there.
Brandon said they're all out. Yep. They're all still around. Yep.
Yeah.
Even if it was someone really just coming in at the Catacendra and saying, yeah, sure, I'm part of this house.
Yeah.
Can't prove I'm not.
I'm one of Strap's 35 illegitimate children.
Yes, definitely. Yes. With that, I think it's time for Who's That Cosmere Character?
This character is from Roshar.
Menace. Tien.
Tom.
Raise.
Void in drag on a horse.
It's time for Who's That Cosmere Character? Caw. All right. You know how the game's played. You send 5 clues and a character to wtcc at 17shard.com. I read each clues aloud, and these panelists have a chance to guess who's that Cosmere character. All right. This first one is sent from Blightweaver, and the title of the email is I Had Fun With This One. So,
Oh boy. Now we're in trouble.
Clue 1. This character was the first ever character guest on Who's That Cosmere Character.
Oh dear God.
I'm not ready for a meta game. The first character ever guessed?
Apparently, yes.
Okay, so not the first answer, the first guess ever.
That's what the clue says, yes.
Well,
I can't
hopeless.
fact check this right now, but I will assume that this is accurate.
When did we start Who's That Cosmere?
It was like our 19th episode.
Savantism
Yeah.
Savantism.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so who? Spook.
It's not Spook.
Hoyd.
It's not Hoyd.
What books
Kelsier.
were out? What books were out then?
It's not Kelsier. Oh, it's Post Oathbringer.
Post Oathbringer.
So most of them. All the Mistborn. Still
Um,
all the Mistborn, really.
First ever character guest.
Yeah.
I feel like it would be who was on that episode?
Oh, not me, I don't think.
I think
Yeah.
it was me, Eric, Ben.
Ben, yeah.
I don't know if
Ben
there was
started
anybody
it.
else.
Maybe it was just the 3 of us, yeah.
I think it might
I'll
be.
say Dalinar.
It's not Dalnar. Clue 2! This character is not from Roshar.
Vin.
It's not Vin.
Edgley.
It's not Egley.
Ellen.
Zed.
It's not Elend. What, Matt?
Zed.
It's not Zed. Clue 3! This character is not human.
Tensoon.
It's not Tensoon.
Milan.
It is Milan! Yay!
I mean, we are just throwing names out here
Yep.
at random.
Yep. Clue 4 was this character was once a side character and is now a main character. And clue 5, this character is Scadrial. I do say it's like, what is a main character? I mean, what is a main character?
They've increased their prominence in the series. I wouldn't
Significantly.
complain overly much about that.
Yeah,
she
yeah,
is a major supporting character.
Yeah. I forgot how little she was in Hero of Ages, honestly. Like, she does not have a very big role at all.
No,
in that
not at
show.
all. Not at all. Like you
Yeah.
mentioned, just a little bit.
Yeah,
She has,
she
like,
was
2
definitely like a
times.
tertiary character. Now she's a secondary character.
Yeah.
All right. This next one is sent by Oliver Newcomb. Clue 1. This character lived abroad for years.
Is it Eric?
It is Eric from White Sand. Apparently the Lord General of Lasand. Oh, right, because he did become that.
Good grief, Ian.
Great. We're keeping it snappy. Good job. Clue 2. This character traveled abroad by ship. Clue 3. This character is good with a sword. Clue 4. The character holds a public office. And clue 5. The character was present when his father's corpse was found. Wow, I really do not remember White Sand stuff.
He was not the most interesting plot in White Sand, and that's saying something.
No. Awesome. So our next one is going to be from our Who's That Cosmere Character priority queue, which admittedly will be a bit less priority because this episode is coming out so much later than when this was submitted. But that's fine. It's still read. And you can support us on Patreon. If you're one of our heralds, you can send these in and you get your name at the end of the show. So this one is sent in by John Carlfelt. And clue 1 is this character was seen on Roshar.
Felt.
It's not Felt.
Naz.
It's not Naz.
Boyd.
It's not Hoyd.
Flashwit.
Adolin.
It's not Adolin. Clue 2. This character is one you might find in a bar.
I'm trying to decide if scene on Roshar is a mislead or not. If they're just Roshar or if it's like a scene on a bar. What about Jor the bouncer?
It's not Jor the bouncer.
I was thinking of that one too. Vale.
It is Vale. Nice.
That was gonna be my guess.
Because she's seen.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't notice this is supposed to be a limerick.
Ha.
I didn't notice this.
Okay, so now you just have to read us the limerick.
I do.
Mm-hmm.
This character, seen on Roshar, is one you might find in a bar. They manipulate surges and have feminine urges, yet in truth, they are not but a scar.
They are not but a scar. I don't get that.
Yeah, like a psychological scar.
Yeah.
I was thinking about Tom's scar, and I'm like, I just can't.
She is a constellation of stars.
Yes. Maybe we can get another reference to the Red Rip in Lost Metal. Nice.
Yeah.
So thank you all for listening to this one. You can find us on 17chart.com for all your news, discussion, theories, and fun that you could ever want. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, SoundCloud. You can subscribe on YouTube. You can leave us a review on iTunes. And if you like this stuff, well, there's going to be lots of Mistborn stuff this year in 2022. So there's a lot of stuff. And if you want to help support us, you can support us on Patreon. Links below in the description. And we'll see you all next time.
Bye.
Bye.
Peace.
Call.